So say hello to each day that you live. It's a chance to give love, so give thanks that you're alive. So say hello, brand new day, brand new way, wipe it clean.
Welcome to the DreamHack Open November 2020. I'm T-Time. Joining me is Yumi on my side. Michael, how are you feeling? We've got ourselves another DreamHack Open to be on. And listen, it's the B stream, but that's what we are with the B stream babies, because it is indeed the best stream.
Yeah, I know. We're always on the B stream together. It's a nice time. And we actually think I think this time around we actually have a really good group as well. So this will I mean the A stream, you can go there as well, but really, this is where I think most of the action will lie. I'm excited.
I am too, especially because the way you're talking about the group, we've got to talk about the matchup we'll be starting off with today. It's going to be Gambit going up versus Illuminar, and later on, of course, we have a slightly separate matchup, which we'll talk about when the time comes. But before the time comes, we're also going to give out a shout out to the lovely sponsors who make all of this possible. Of course, that would be, I'm reaching down, I'm sure you can tell, but I'm reaching down just to make sure I've got my list perfect. It's Intel, MSI, Corsair, Monster, and DTS. Some absolutely fantastic stuff from them. Just keep on supporting Counter-Strike all throughout these years, and you've got to go out and support them as well. But back to Gambit and Illuminar, Michael. I think we would be lying if we said that there isn't an obvious favorite here. So tell me why you think the Polish team will win.
Oh God, you're asking me to go with that side of the argument? Well, okay. At the very least, Illuminars look good in the sense that they've got like an inherent core, and it seems like Snax is taking a lot more leadership in terms of individual fragging power and actually making more independent decisions in that regard. I like the way that Illuminar have kind of structured themselves in that way, but whether that goes up against Gambit after offer, I think they're on a 12 best-of-3 winning streak at the moment. They haven't dropped a series in about a month. So it'll be interesting to see whether Illuminar can break that streak and actually overturn that. I mean, we've got returning major winners. We've got Hobbit on one side, Snax on the other, both Polish majors as well, which I think is quite interesting. But which one of them is more superior? I know Hobbit's more recent, so does that count?
Well, I mean, look, if we're talking about recency, we've also got to talk about the fact that Gambit also recently transitioned from being Gambit youngsters, where, they're going around having a nice little time, to being just Gambit, the main squad itself. And this in particular is an interesting storyline, because if you look back towards the time since they've become Gambit, where it's been a few months now, they've only lost a total of 4 series across something like 40 or so. And even there, 2 of those series were best of ones. And we all know what best of ones are in online, man. Anything goes. You really don't know which way you're going to be swinging. So there really is a bit of a heavier load on one side of the coin in this particular matchup. But let's see where indeed it will land as we head over to talk a little bit more about the veto phase. And the veto phase is what makes me just a tiny bit concerned, because Gambit actually have their permaban of Nuke, which does ban out one of the maps that Illuminar is still somewhat competent at. Illuminar fortunately does have their Inferno permaban, which is the same for Gambit. It's their best map, but Gambit's maps then are ridiculous, Michael. They're just 70% win rate, 65% win rate, 68% win rate, 68% win rate. It's just pretty absurd. It's very difficult to actually veto against them.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way that Illuminar could ever win the veto, just based on the recent form for Gambit and just how limited amount of time they would have had to, I think, re-implement PHR, who I think is taken over the in-game leading role. Yeah, this is kind of leading into vetoes, leading into current form and just expectations. I think we do paint Gambit in a pretty decent light, but I mean, the vetoes can sort of help you a little bit. I think if this is going to be a win for Illuminar, it has to be at least like they need to win their own match.
Oh, I agree entirely. So let's talk a bit about the vetoes. We have them, of course, and just to those of you guys at home, Illuminar did ban out Inferno. Gambit took away Nuke, pretty expected over there. What comes through after is Illuminar having the first pick, so they take Mirage into their own hands, and Gambit respond with Dust too. So we start off with 2 relatively puggy maps. Maybe there's a bit of hope over there. I'm sure Michael will have a few words on that after the full veto is discussed, because it's Illuminar then banning Overpass, Train being taken up by Gambit. I was kind of surprised by that one, and then finally it'll be Vertigo as a decider. So we've come to Mirage, Dust 2, and Vertigo. Michael, technically all 3 are buggy maps, and all 3 are maps which, Illuminar can and has brought some wins out in the past.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the Mirage pick, right, it is fairly obvious given the, I think, recent win rates for Illuminar. I think it's the highest win percentage map that they currently have. So going into that, fine, but yeah, I think there's definitely upset potential here, right? You talk about the fact that the maps are fairly puggy. I don't expect that they're going to be implementing as deep a strat pool as sort of teams like Big or frequent sort of tier 1 teams that will pick into Dust 2, so how well that all plays out also comes down to how prepared people are in the server. But Vertigo, yeah, that's gonna be a hard one for Illuminar. I think they have looked a bit shaky at times. Looking through some of their previous demos, there are gaps in rotation that I know the Gambit youngsters will like to exploit because they like to be fairly aggressive.
Hey, Michael, just Gambit now. They're not young anymore, Michael.
Yeah.
They're all grown up, okay?
See,
They've got their big boy clothes
they
on.
graduated. It was kind of a strange turn of events. It is a fairly, I want to say, but it did happen a few months ago.
It's been a few months,
It's not my own mistake. They grow up so fast.
I know, man. It's okay, man. I look at my little brother. I don't actually have a little brother, but I'm sticking to it for the analogy. I look at my little brother. He just got out of playgroup yesterday, and now he's going to university. He's all grown up. I feel so sad, but I'm still gonna call him baby, just like you're calling them Gambit youngsters, even though it is mildly insulting. How dare you, Michael? But we've also got to take a look at the predictions, and I think where Michael's being slightly insulting, he might be favouring Gambit youngsters a little bit more. Well, Gambit rather, a little bit more. You see. Because I think that's where I'm. Yeah, I know, it's horrible. That's where I'm really falling. I think it should be a 2-0 for Gambit. Mirage and Dust 2 are really, really good for them. I can't see Illuminar being able to get away with this, but I will say that there is a small glimmer of hope in the Shiro versus Snacks matchup where, look, if there's anyone who's going to shut out your main star player, Snacks is... returning with 3, and he takes it away. Gambit taking up that pistol round.
Yeah, we got thrown straight into the thick of it. Axile, 4 kills, nice stuff. It's a bit of a collapse on that B-bomb site that Gambit will happily take each and every time. Actually able to get into the site faster than the rotations were there for the CT side, which is always a healthy start. We'll see how these anti-eco rounds go, because this is, I think, what will separate Gambit from, say, Illuminar, and that I think they'll be less likely to concede these rounds. I'm kind of hedging my bets about that one, because very frequently these do get overturned, but you can see it's a very passive game from Gambit. They're slowing things down, trying not to get caught out by anything that Illuminar are going for, and they're playing a very passive setup themselves. Over towards B, Snacks the scout, the tag landed on Nafany, so that's a good start.
But they have got 3 MAC-10s, so there's definitely upset potential in this round. Hobbit's got 1 though with his MAC-10. Nafany already down despite being low, has brought a quick kill to himself. 4 versus 2, Illuminar shouldn't really have too much of a chance of a hit. Overall, I would not mind them saving these 2 weapons at this stage, but we'll still have to wait to see.
Bomb has been planted.
Yeah, nothing really going to get going here for Illuminar. Saving these weapons over is nice, but I do have this critique, I think, fairly often for teams when it comes to these second rounds. Obviously, you get a fair amount of utility, you get some weaponry involved, but not able to, or not really giving yourself the opportunities to take some risks and maybe upset the other side. Doesn't always feel like the best win condition. I could see arguments for both, especially when you've got the scouts. If you land some nice tags, slower rounds do work out in that favor, but...
I mean, that's obviously where it's very much a stylistic thing, but for Illuminar, a lot of this game is going to come down to how afraid are you really of Gambit, because we have to say it, Illuminar has a lot of players who've been playing for a long time, but outside of Snacks, there's no one who can definitely say, okay, we've played at a high enough level that we have that veteran power over Gambit. Even if they are a younger team, it's not the same thing as, okay, if Olafmeister is playing over here, who's sure, he's been having an off year or so, I'd say, as far as his form goes, but there's always that experience that he has to bring to the table. Illuminar has some very, very veteran players, but it's not there the same way, is it?
Yeah, Gambit were on a rise even before they'd gotten Hobbit in as an additional factor, an in-game leader. So.
No, absolutely. I mean, so many people
in the best form as well.
Yeah, that is one of the things about Illuminar, is that there's a lot of these players who individually have always looked like in the past that, you know, this would be the next talent to transcend to tier 1, but they never really made it the same way. And this is one of these big opportunities for them at this DreamHack Open to try and make it over. You know, there's a lot of ESL points on the line as well for the overall circuit, obviously Road to Global and everything, but Intus, he's found another one in the meanwhile. Gambit have gone through with a very clean anti-eco thus far. I love to see that, but Illuminar, can they actually get some damage in?
Yeah, always the potential. Shiro and Hobbit, low HP, so these pistols don't have to do too much work. But again, just a very conservative approach, seeing if they can steal a weapon away, conserve the maybe pistols into the following round. I don't think they'll want the scout really, and well, PHR even offers himself up, so that opportunity is no longer there. Should be a nice clean exit round here for Gambit. Create a nice healthy buffer. No surprises.
So one thing about Illuminar that I always find interesting of this CT side, and we'll look at this going into the next round, is how exactly is Snack set up on the AWP? Because very often on their CT side, one issue that they have is they're not willing to go aggressive. And in particular, you see this on maps like Train, but it also does translate slightly into Mirage, where they'll focus a lot more in the mid-round on having general rotation heavy positioning rather than having aggressive positioning to spot out T-side players to allow Snacks to rotate. So unless Snacks gets the right call in the very beginning on where he wants to go, you might see him struggling a bit to actually find the players in the first place, which will be interesting if we look at it. But Mouse, he's pushed through all the way out mid, forced back through of the Gambit players, and he's still sticking around. He has a player coming down, beautiful shot, but Hobbit in the back line is good for the trade.
Yeah, good one for one. Veggie finding another one in through middle, but then a couple of frags in unison here for Gambit. Does allow them some space towards this A site. There is a player up close that will be Snacks, but segmented off, waiting for his teammate to get into position as well. There's no kits between these two players, so a 2-on-2, the Gambit looks to be in good position to win because of Shiro's position.
We'll have to wait to see what he can do, though. They definitely expect it. You can see Riaz is considering it, but he's been taken down. Shiro wins it out, and all he has to do is stay alive and provide pressure. Gambit has Snacks in their face, though, and he's here to munch on them. Shiro, though, has rotated back. The flashbang will reveal his position. Snacks can't get it. Shiro will take him down. 4 rounds on the board, but it gets as close as can be.
Shiro saying, thank you very much for the AWP. 1v1. Super happy with how that one went, especially just because he had a full nade set, had a Molotov for the bomb as well, so even if the flash went askew, the win conditions were always there. Illuminar getting shut down, even though they go pretty well in the early trades.
Can you actually molly that spot from CT spot?
Yeah, you just bank it off the...
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah,
For some reason, I thought it was planted on the opposite side of default. My bad.
Oh, yeah. That would have been a crazy lineup.
Yeah, I for a second there I was thinking maybe it's like a jump throw from the garbage bin or something like that, but yeah.
It probably is a lineup like it, but getting yourself into positions like that may not be so frequent. Talk about Molotovs. One missed in towards middle, but that shouldn't really matter too much. Nobody there for Illuminar. It's a very standardized setup. A bit more of a presence towards the B-bomb site, and Gambit are slowly probing that area in Axile.
Wait,
never 100 damage nade?
Yep, that was a full big boy. That's what it was. Hobbit takes down Veggie as well. After a full 100 damage now, you're probably slightly miffed. The remaining now the remaining 2 CT players really just have one objective, that is not to die to this Mach 10. More than anything else, Gambit will be given the round. But again, now I have to ask the same question, Michael, which is that in the previous round, we saw Snacks had to come through in the retake, rather. He wasn't able to get involved early on, and his teammates aren't really able to delay the terrorist side long enough for Snacks to get there in time to be impactful in the same way. So right here, we need individuals stepping up outside of Snacks. Snacks can't be our only win condition. So that's really what I'm looking towards. Is Mao's going to show up? Is Riyad's going to show up? Because those are the 2 players for me who I need to be on the server.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because even if you try and put yourself in the best rotationary spot in Snacks, you know, you look at Connector or Short as the the sort of high traffic areas, if Gambit simply smoke off or deploy a healthy amount of utility that direction, it will come down to these more dedicated site players. So I think you're right. I think it has to be players like, you even talk about Veggie not being in maybe the best of form when they came into this team and haven't really recovered since. Hopefully we'll get to see a bit of a revitalization. But another gun round here for Illuminar. PHR, some utility in through middle. Given how much presence Gambit have thrown that direction, a little bit brazen to be hanging around that long, but so far so good. No real reaction as they make their way through the underpass instead.
Veggie's positioning is incredibly important. That nade reveals it, but it will not do any damage. It gets so dangerously close. It's just not there, and he's taken down. Hobbit gets on top of the bench. Quick headshot to decapitate. And now the CTs will have to make a move. There's only one player on the B-bomb site, but it seems like A is the destination for Gambit Airlines. PHR looking to perhaps provide some turbulence, as Connector does have an occupant. Meanwhile, on the B-bomb site, Riaz is also just waiting for the T's to come in. Gambit have changed it up. They're going for B-pincer. Riaz has got one. Riaz looking for more. Keeps it spraying, but Hobbit overwhelms. And now it's a 4 versus 3. Snacks on the side, and he's got the beautiful shot. Keeps it going as Mouse comes in from the side to assist. Snacks is aggressing into the bomb site. They're not expecting this at all. And he'll be flashed up and brought down. Back to a 2v2.
A really solid flash for the duel, equalizing the affair. There is a kid on Mouse, a smoke as well, but whether they'll be even able to escape from the market, that's a whole other question. Mouse trying to get an angle in. But Hobbit on the site, taking the duel. PHR drops, so now it's just Mouse. And a difficult angle to approach from jumping out the window. Inters has him dead to rights. A 6th round in a row for Gambit to continue the spree on that seaside. Illuminar can't get anything going.
Illuminar can't get anything going, especially their individuals, because right here you saw again, Mouse played that really well considering how difficult it was. He isolates the first player out, but he just can't follow up the spray. There is that issue with the AUG at long range. It's one of the few disadvantages it has, is that if you're not able to, if you miss even one bullet, there is no way you win that spray out. Otherwise, in an M4 versus AK scenario, the fire rate difference means that you can still afford to miss a single bullet. So slight issues coming in. It is what it is, but Illuminar call a timeout and they're going to decide what they do over here. Going for a half buy makes sense, but then you're down 0-7 potentially.
Yeah, I almost feel as though that this needs to then be a reaction from Illuminar, right? We talk, sort of mentioned it earlier on, the fact that Gambit have been primarily dominating in mid control, and while they'd thrown a bit of presence in that previous gun round, you had PHR deploying some nice early utility. It's just a very difficult position to be in. So whether you allow them that much space, that could be well, but okay, PHR, a couple of kills on the Deagle, that's a great way to start. An AK as well, and Gambit are still moving towards the safe side, so Palace is a real problem position.
And Snacks is ready to go through the smoke. You can see he wants to do it, but right now the terrorists, they've planted the bomb down. At least they're trying to go for it, but Snacks has dropped and Axel drops him. Shiro gets another, and suddenly it's all chaos for the CTs. Tagged up through the wall, Shiro keeps it going, but Riaz is fragging, and he is fragging hard. Shiro knows where they're coming from, but he's ducked away. He reveals his position, and the head is taken. No, Shiro's still fighting. The Tech 9 to finish. Shiro takes it away.
Oh, that is heartbreaking for Illuminar. That could have been a miracle round, but Shiro, another clutch for Gambit. And that was just when Illuminar were on pistols. That is just so close. Some great shots being hit. We had Riats on the site, just causing more chaos, buying time for the long rotate. We'll see if they can get a bit more accomplished now on the rifles. Maybe that's a newfound bit of confidence, the fact that they get so close and around like that. Veggie, different position in towards ladder. Again, they're sort of half committed towards this middle pressure. And Gambit, if they try and get up towards the connector, they could be in for an unhealthy surprise.
Snacks is in the perfect position though. Snacks is keeping an eye out. Nafani's already found one. Snacks waiting for them. Snacks misses the shot though. Nafani and Inters are already on the side. PHR is down as well. Axel just pushes through a smoke. That is chaos. That's a lot of missed shots right there from the CT side that they could not afford.
Yeah, never mind about the whole renewed confidence. Maybe the confidence was there, but the results, not so much. Gambit bully them in the next round.
It's like walking up to a girl and asking her out, thinking, yeah, she's going to say yes, and then she just throws a drink in your face. Both at the same time.
We went completely different angles there, but...
It's all right. Look, she slaps you, then she throws the drink. It hurts more because alcohol stings.
True.
And
we'll see if Race can get away with this 7-4. We've had very different rejection experiences. It's very clear. But a really nice start here for Gambit. Coming into Illuminar's map pick as well. Talk about the fact that, okay, Illuminar, if there is going to be a way in which you make this series yours, surely it is taking your home turf. This is probably the best map in the pool for Illuminar, so you talk about how strong the Gambit map pool is. Not really many ways you can dodge out in the veto process, but I mean, trying to get things done on scouts and pistols, not looking likely, especially because they're going to the less stacked A-bomb site. It's just PHR to try and slow them down with a scout, but he smoked off, so not much to be accomplished there.
Oh, PHR seeing them though. PHR, maybe he can, but turns out there is nothing to be done there. And look, again, we're kind of getting to a point where Gambit youngsters have just been given a bomb site for free. Even earlier on, we saw in a gun round versus gun round, it's very rare that Illuminar has a contest which they take on their own terms within the first 20 seconds. Generally speaking, it is a very old-fashioned style of CS where it's you sit down and you wait for the teams to come over and you hope to get shots. It's not really, okay, we've taken control over A main, okay, we've got some control in mid, we know where they're going to be going, we're going to make a read, and then off the basis of that, our utility is going to do some damage and we can follow through. Especially in a map like Mirage, where the modern meta has so much focus on taking control over A main, it is looking increasingly difficult for Illuminar to get around unless they change something soon.
I feel like I just have to comment on this because I feel like I keep Supra in my heart and mind. It has been quite...
Supra.
Yeah, I do quite miss him on this Gambit side, but it has been good to see Hobbit, although I think the first week or two was a bit of a slow start with the roster, has been performing quite well with the squad, and the results definitely reflect that. So, while, you know, hearts and souls out for Supra, Gambit still looking very good, especially under the new leadership. Good start for Illuminar here in round 10 though. Mal's getting a kill, Veggie as well on the M4. A nice healthy man advantage to work off of. We'll see if Gambit can respond in the mid round or whether Illuminar can hold on to this, get the first round on that CT side.
Now PHR's position is going to be everything though. If they can overwhelm him, then the CT side, who has such an aggressive player in towards TV room, they're suddenly just destroyed. But PHR's played this incredibly smart. He's not waiting inside ladder. Instead, he's just watching for mid and connector. Now, connector is where the bomb is and interest goes down. That is huge. That is the round done. Illuminar will be able to find their first. And again, this is where we talked about it earlier. Illuminar is taking some battles on their own terms. They're getting a bit more aggressive. They're willing to be the aggressors on the CT side, and you can see the difference that it really gives them.
Absolutely. Not being sort of pushed into positions where you constantly have to fight from the sites, instead forcing Gambit into a more awkward position. And it all started with Miles on the AWP. The secondary op for Illuminar instead really being the catalyst. But the immediate call to timeout from Gambit. See if they can slow momentum. I mean, it's not a discussion about their economy. Their economy is really, really good. So just trying to make sure that there is a good response to what Illuminar have to offer. How they tackle the double op.
Oh no, I absolutely love this. This is one of the things where, look, we miss Super and everything, but this is one of the things where having Hobbit really helps.
Absolutely.
A very experienced player who knows, okay, this is where things generally tend to go wrong. A 9-1 seems like, oh, don't worry about it. But a 9-3 pause is completely different. You have it in your head, there's only 3 rounds left and a half. Oh, we might just be giving up a really big lead. There's all these mental pressures that come in. You get the pause out earlier. You make sure that Illuminar is going to have to double check whatever assumptions they had about your game plan as well. The mind game within mind games does continue, but now it is that A main control we talked about. PHR has taken some of it, and they even got a man aggressive inside Palace. Snacks, on the other hand, is taking up control of mid with his AWP from Connector, but he will back off before he gets to face it. Oh!
Good shot on towards Hobbit. Experience versus experience, the AWP reigns supreme. So Gambit, a man down. And they've gone for a mid-heavy default. The idea was to try and contain, take control away from Illuminar, but because of Snax' presence, they may have to rethink things about how they look to approach. It could have set up for a split towards either site, but instead now they move for more of a B-sided play, more of an execute-oriented decision. And for now, Illuminar will be none the wiser.
Nafani is headed over towards that B-bomb site, though, and like you said, Illuminar may seem none the wiser, but one thing to note is that Snax is still in a respectable position to rotate. He's not playing from CT as well, where he's not even inside the connector, but Nafani is down and he's going in, looking for the first shot, but he can't find it. CT backs off, but not quick enough. Riats will fall, Nafani to follow. As he is traded away, Veggie brings him down and he's delaying. These smokes are doing so much and Veggie's playing around them. He's moved into it, moving past as well potentially as he circles around and will find the gap, but he's been brought down regardless. A 3v2 where Snax is making his way over, but does he get a free kill?
Yeah, it's just waiting for the rotation here. Yeah, having to save the double up purely is the more conservative play, but Snax really hungry for an additional frag if Gambit will give it to him. No, nothing really going. A double nade lined up, but gonna be a swing and a miss, and so it's a home run for Gambit. Starting off being that man down, but making a very good reaction. I think a lot of it comes down to just that strange pathway and entry decision making by Anafani. Just not only making his way to the back pillar, but then double backing on himself, giving some incorrect sound cues to Illuminar, had them very confused. He caught them in transition.
And that's one of the reasons why Nafani is one of the most underrated players in this Gambit Esports lineup, because if you look at any other one of them, you know, Inters has his moments, Shiro, Axel, I think Axel's the best part of it, mate. I'm sorry, Shiro fanboys, I just think Axel's insanely good. But Nafani, his spotting, his mind for the game, and his ability to put up when the rest of his team has sometimes shut down is impeccable. And you love to see him in a situation like this where he doesn't have to be the big fragger, but he can be the smart, calculated player. PHR, though, uses one way in mid, and Snax is somehow losing a duel over towards A main.
Uh-oh. That's a really big problem because he was a solo, dedicated, A-sided player, putting a lot of faith on his shoulders, so Veggie rotating in, not being gifted anything. Molotov not going to be enough to deter him. Still looking for these sight lines in. Oh, they're not expecting it. Shiro caught out in the open, and there's reinforcements coming from Illuminar. They are swarming this site. There's pressure in towards B as well. You look at this fight on the minimap, and so far, so good. They can get this plant down. Illuminar aren't pressuring too heavily.
Anafani again shows up, takes down the player trying to get aggressive on top of the take a boot, but now it's about PHR who's rotated back in, coming from connector, and Nafani knows it every time. He's got the best read you could possibly have, and now it's suddenly a disadvantage for the Illuminar side. Mao's getting aggressive, finally comes into play, trying to double peek in from CT, then with the smoke going down, they'll have some cover. But even that is limited when you have Inters coming in from A main. Inters doesn't even need to show up. Nafani is doing it all on his own.
Oh, and Reach just doesn't have the time to make this one work. That's another one round from Gambit. When it comes to these XVX situations in the post plan, Gambit have come out the better side of it each and every time. 11-1. The best round for Illuminar is when they got that healthy man advantage and started to just close them out systematically, but they just can't get any momentum going. They can't get any sort of consistency from their players, and I think that's really what that point we were harping on about earlier on. These individuals that need to step up in the moments. We've seen a lot of missed shots from Mouse, Snacks, some open opportunities were certainly there, but Gambit are just capitalizing on some free space. These longer rotations from Illuminar are really hurting them.
And that's the question that you have to ask. How many shots are you going to miss where your crosshair is at the perfect place? How many times are you going to make the right play but not be able to capitalize on it? Because at the end of the day, Counter-Strike is a beautiful game with a lot of tactical depth, but at the end of it all, you have to click on the head.
Yeah.
Or in the body.
It's a really tough place to be in, where you can often feel like you're making the correct reads on how you should be taking the duels, but you're still just not winning the duels. Ideas there, execution, not so much. I'd almost want Illuminar to get aggressive in a spot like this as well. Just because, I mean, you look at how their utility is looking for the late round. They have one kit on Snack, so if he goes down, that's a really big disadvantage to find yourself in. And Gambit just have so much free space. You can see they were holding back, prepared for an Illuminar push, but now they'll make their presence known towards middle. The series of flashes, they start to show a bit more presence, and they're slowly working that area of the map, and there's no one on the side of Illuminar that's really in a great enough position to contest.
And that's what I was talking about at the very start of the game. A lot of... Oh, Snack's good shot to find, actually, all the way from triple. And now he's going to be contested by Nafany, who's taking the duel, but Snacks has got the kill. 3 versus 5, brought back down to 4. Hobbit recovers 1 at the very least and has some good information. Riats will now have to defend the B-bomb site all on his own. Double drop comes in. Riats is waiting. Riats speaking out, 30 seconds. All he has to do is delay, but Axel brings him apart. Now it's back to a 3v3. Inters even has utility to follow up and block these players out. Veggie and company are in such a rough spot. And Snacks, although he's boosted up onto the shelves, the problem is this smoke has actually gone a bit too deep. And because of it, this is slightly harder to actually see over. Axile, however, you're right. I didn't even see that. 8 seconds in Gambit. They had Hobbit on mid throughout. Consistently. He never rotated over. Hobbit saw 2 of the players go down on catwalk 2 Snacks, and then he decides, and he makes the call, you guys do a double drop down in B, overrun the B player, and I'm going to go A.
Oh my god, and with 4 HP to get that across, Illuminar have been successfully bamboozled. They had an idea in mind. The smoke goes deep, they make a good reaction, but then they don't realize in time. It's the A site instead. What a call in the mid-round from Gambit. And it's a risk that you can take, especially when you have such a big lead. And Hobbit can hear all these rotations as he holds instead from just the underpass position. Such a great amount of information for Gambit to work off of. It's a risky move, but it certainly pays off.
It's also particularly less risky, actually, if you consider how Illuminar has been playing with a very heavy rotation-based style where they have 3 players playing defensively and ready to rotate back to another site. So when it's back to a 3v3, Hobbit says, you know what, if you guys get a kill, they're going to rotate 100%. Even if you don't get a kill there and you just show yourself, they're going to rotate. But hold that thought, Mouse, it comes in from behind. Riats has got one as well. The Deagles have been friendly. But are they really what will get them through? That's a big question mark. Illuminar looking for maybe 3 rounds over here. And this round is absolutely crucial for them.
I'm only now just going down here for Gambit. The post plants are already established. They've gotten themselves in towards Van, the bench as well, and Axel picking up one above the smoke. Reitz was supposed to be the elevated position, that surprise factor, try and catch them off guard, but it's this double flank from the apartments that could be the real difference maker. Inter's the closest one that can really contest this, and they're not making their way out yet. There's no kit here for Illuminar, so every second is vital. Veggie, great frag found. Inter's not finding anything, and they get it done. Illuminar find every single kill, and I think they've just managed to get on the bomb in the nick of time. It is going to be close, but Illuminar have gotten themselves a second round. Yeah, they have. On the back of pistols, no less.
Oh. Now they have to do it with rifles, though, and that's where they have struggled so far. And look, you have to look at the 2 pistol rounds that they've had, where they've gotten very close. Earlier on, when PHR got into Palace, they couldn't quite capitalize on that one, but they definitely got close. The difference is always, hey, what's this? Mouse just randomly came out from underfoot. Oh, look, PHR randomly pushes deep into Palace. What's going on over here? How do we deal with this? There's actually something out of our plan for Gambit Esports. It's a very different look from the Polish side.
far more proactive, I think, is the big
Yeah.
thing, right? Actually forcing the fight. Al's, though, great duel for a 1-for-1, but traded out eventually by Nafany. PHR, trying to delay with the utility, but has no real reinforcements coming anytime soon. Again, it's these longer rotations here from Illuminar, and it's radio silence. Now utility sailing in for Gambit, but now Illuminar are in great positions, and PHR, that's a crucial duel to win.
And that's a mismatch. Shiro Rietz follows up as well. He's playing around triple, but broke down Axel. Untouchable so far in this game. And it's back to a 2v2 off the back of him and Intis. Now, the problem is PHR is incredibly low, but he's coming in from behind. He's often gone for this flank, and it's up to Veggie to delay just long enough. He has a smoke should he want to use it, but the bomb will go down. PHR has almost made his way over. Veggie, if he can make sure no one's crossing over towards CT, his job is done, but PHR's has just begun. He's moving in, looks for the duel, but Inter spins and gets it. Veggie, now alone, 1v2, is moving in for the kill. He smells blood, but it might be his teammates, and Veggie's been rushed. Veggie's got one. Veggie's searching and can't find the second. It's 13-2. Gambit Esports have swept this half, and we'll be back with the second very soon.
And if you're down and you're low, you're still a king or a queen. There ain't a thing that you cannot be.
Gambit Esports have been doing a lot of biting in the first half, but not so much in second. Now they have their teeth all sharpened up with their full buy coming out. Lots of utility as well off the back of that, but Shiro's been naded down very early on. Good to see, especially with that flashbang. Reese will actually be able to take a peek very quickly, but Shiro still will fall, and now PHR comes in from the side, gets another Axel, who's trying to just assist his player, will fall, but this is just the one after another train from Gambit Esports on mid.
Yeah, it's a zebra crossing of frags. Back and forth we go, and they hold the advantage. Gambit finding another as well, so it's just Snacks. The man you'd want in the clutch for Illuminar, certainly at the top, and a crisp shot on Hobbit does create a little bit more room. There is a player in towards the B apartments, and Snacks, I'm not sure where this B player is. Inters does get the drop on him. Snacks made a quick adjustment. I thought he might have been able to land it, but instead, Gambit get it done on their first gun round. So now the problems really start to arise, because this will be, I think, really the last chance for Illuminar to stay in this map.
And look, one bright side, I guess, for Illuminar is that Shiro's not existent. This isn't the first time he's whiffed. He's 7-11. He's not been getting involved at all. And on the T side, that wasn't as visible because Axel was just putting on his Superman costume, flying in, and then he just, does what he does. He destroys a city. And now, you know what? If you are talking about Dust 2, maybe there's a bit of hope over there. Without Shiro, it becomes a lot harder. Snacks obviously can be a little bit more mobile on a map like that as well, but this one's not over. Illuminar's still looking. They're still hunting. This is another gunner they have in their hands, and they've got the entry kill. Still leading forward, but Shiro responds. Axel, nade in hand, goes out. Good damage, and a kill as well. And now it's back to a 4 versus 3. Riyadh trying to spray through a smoke, but cannot find anything. And the CTs, they are slowly and steadily progressing onto this bomb site.
Yeah, they're strangling them in towards the site, and these smokes aren't going to last forever. Reed's in a very compromising position, so this is a must-win duel, but Axel overwhelms. Just the D, but it's enough. A 1-for-1 exchange. Snacks able to trade things out, but the bomb is dropped on the site, so they need to create a pathway, and Snacks now left in a clutch. Another 1-on-3 that he's been called to order, and I don't think Snacks is going to be given much of a chance. They've really made this as difficult as possible. They're actually giving him a whole lot of respect, but finally some bullets rattled off. Snacks tagged down low, 3 HP, surely no chance. And he's not even really being given the duels. He's been shot in the sides and all around, but no real fights given his direction. Now has to go for the plant. And well, oh no, he's actually catching them off guard. Okay, this is getting a little bit dangerous. They're low HP here on Gambit, but finally Hobbit puts an end to the madness. So 15.
And Illuminar, they even find the entry kill, they even manage to follow up, but Shiro inside the window being able to get a kill and back off, reposition, make it 2, and that's inexcusable. He's on a rifle there, it's not an AWP, wasn't an instant headshot, nothing of the sort. It's just, again, some of that missed aim duel coming into play that we've been talking about repeatedly for Illuminar. Now, Nafani, get that movement going, baby, yes please. Gets himself onto the catwalk very quickly. Always love to see that, even if it doesn't really find a kill. Though I'm not speaking just yet. Illuminar do have a player inside the smoke, but trades are coming in onto the A-bomb side. They're losing players, and Axel, well, he's more than happy to escort 2 more to the grave. One so sturdy, but Mouse takes down Nafani, and it's Shiro and Axel cleaning up. Illuminar get the bomb plant, but they will be losing out the game. Axel can't quite make it at 30, but 27 and 9, 3 KD. That is stunning.
Yeah, he had such a great map, and like you said, Shiro did seem a little bit absent on Mirage, something that is typically kind of a win condition for Gambit, but instead, Axel able to step up to the plate very wonderfully, always just having so much impact in the rounds and mid-round decision-making as well. We had some really high-impact frags from Hobbit as well, shout-outs to him. Yeah. But now we move into Dust 2, where it felt like Illuminar were kind of lacking in some instances on the aim aspect, so maybe that is a bit of a concern moving to a very independent map.
And look, Dust 2 is where we'll have to see if Illuminar can change some of those CT side tendencies, especially get some aggression, get some control, really take things into their own hands. But we've got to take things out of our hands for a bit. We're going to a short break, and we'll be back with Dust 2 very soon.
With the right CPU, you can turn any game from familiar to phenomenal. Unleash the potential in all your gaming with Intel 10th Gen processors. With its optimal balance of threads, cores, and frequency to deliver elite real-world performance, only Intel can bring Marvel's Avengers to life with in-game PC optimizations. Supercharge your Marvel's Avengers experience with Intel Core i5, i7, and i9 processors.
Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is when you get back up when you fall. You better get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up. Get up. You witnessing a champ in the making, fueled by your passion for greatness. Yeah, But adversity and bad situations meet us in the middle of the paths that we take.
Я думаю, друзья, был замечательный футбольчик. Мы ждали, пока там бэстрим для других перезапустят. Так что игроки развлекались как они могли, помимо футбольчика. А пока пистолетка. Двое игроков Гамбита уже остаются при выходе на Б. До сих пор дальше выйти не получилось. Музини стоит просто в соло, решает и делает эйс на пистолетке. Легчайшее для поляка. Он практически не сдвинулся с места. Буквально там парочку сантиметров влево-вправо. И так и не дал выйти из темки игрокам Гамбит. Кстати, вы самое главное не увидели. Я вовремя убрал жестчайшую просто сцену, которая только могла быть. Они, футбольчик, сперва не доиграли в том месте, где я вам показывал. И просто Гамбит расстреляли 5 игроков и Illuminar с калашей. Потом они продолжили мячик гонять после карты, но в любом случае это еще минут 2-3 происходило, так что там уже показывать было нечего. Но самую жесткую сцену я вам не показал. А тут легкая. И во втором раунде для Illuminar. Ну, тут экономически решили играть Гамбит, они не форсили. Так что, в принципе, не так страшно, что они все отлетели. Вот единственное, что бомба-то вот могла бы быть у Акселя, он бы мог ее ставить на А. Хотя я не исключаю, что если бомба не была бы найдена в центре, то вот так бы легко Аксель не прошел. Так, заметил голову Риц и закрывает. Но не 5 вновь. Погиб Маузиньо, но одного, в принципе, мало. Задержка 150 секунд, друзья, так что не удивляйтесь. Итак, 2-0 пока в пользу поляков, но это пока только на старте. Коэффициент 9.22 на Illuminar, 1.04 на Гамбит, на серию. Первую карту, еще раз напоминаю, выиграли The Mirage. Пик Illuminar. Игроки Гамбит. Пока не торопится Гамбит с выходом. Ну и защита теперь тоже понимает, что там не пистолеты, а более чем опасные калаши. И Гамбит прекрасно с ними обращаются. И легко ставится бомба. Есть контакт, падает Аксель. И, в принципе, ретейк будет, на самом деле, не таким уж и сложным, если сейчас сыграет вместе Illuminar. Флешки летят. Вопрос сейчас, кто заработает большинство. Пока что минус Хоббит. Тыра. Есть контакт, забирает Маузиньо. Там на рампе уже двое игроков. Должны его все-таки забирать. Да, забирает Шира. Там еще в дыме, на фане. Выходит одного, второго щелкает уже Интерс, помогает на фане. А где последний PHR? А он в яме. Он так и не дошел до своей команды. Первый девайсный за Гамбит. Авик появляется у Illuminar, возможно, это сейчас как-то поможет. Здесь Накса отыгрывает на длине. Сейчас может забрать Акселя. Флешку себе накинул. Аксель остался на месте, он и не вышел, и назад не ушел. Ну, в общем, идеальная цель для Снакса. Ты решил чисто просто не отдавать калаш, да? Но Снакс уже в центр перебежал, так что Гамбит, скорее всего, я думал, сплитбой уходит, но нет, бросили все-таки позицию центра. Выходит на шорт, закрывает ли Рица? Нет, он забирает на фане, это 5 на 3, уже 4, уже 3. И халявный аплент на самом деле, потому что Снакс ушел. Illuminar сейчас, может быть, даже подумает о том, что уже можно сейвить. Ширы очень легко, потому что здесь выходит. Притом, кстати, он не КТ перекрывает, а чисто здесь проход. А, ну, чтобы уйти на длину, нормально тогда. Тем более, что бомба под длину. Под яму. Так, PHR, Шира. Нет, не столкнуться. Там Хоббит немножко по нему попал, видимо, Снакс. Но в итоге так и остается, да. 3 на 3. 2 калаша отжали, кстати, игроки защиты. Так что этот сейф для Illuminar смотрится крайне, в принципе, комфортно, я бы сказал. А это у нас, похоже, техническая, да, пауза? Да, техническую попросили Гамбит. До 60 FPS. Так, Хоббиту нужно перезапустить ПК. Ну, там, в принципе, у нас ничего особо не поменялось. 10.09 на Illuminar, 1.03 на Гамбит. Чуть-чуть скачет. Не особо.
In your face aggression like we sometimes saw from them in Deagle rounds on Mirage, but instead it's more measured. They're willing to take duels early, and that is one of the advantages that Dust 2 offers, unlike Mirage, that the CT side can actually take some engagements without having to commit very heavily inside a particular area. So I'm guessing that the rotation heavy style can be a little bit more effective because of it, but later on we're going to have to see whether or not they can protect the extremities of the map playing the way that they are right now.
Yeah, I think one of the problems that we're already starting to see arise is that short pressure is something that has either gone in the favor of Illuminar or against them. We've seen some good entries from Shiro, we had them from Hobbit as well when they've collapsed on that A site. So even I think even if you're guarding those extremities, I think if you're Illuminar and you're not really punishing the fact that Gambit aren't setting up in a very spread default to make sure that there's no aggression towards long or the tunnels, then if you're Illuminar, you should be able to capitalize on that in some regards and maybe actually explore those extremities a bit further. So I think there's certainly chances, there's the opportunities there for Illuminar to overturn this. Just as an update as well, there is a technical pause actually called by Gambit at the moment, so we're not missing any of the action. We're still 2-2 apiece, so you know we're sorting things out on both ends.
So what you're saying is it's not just our fault, it's the players as well. Yes!
I mean that's the real reason. It's always the player.
Yeah, it's always the players. Why have you got to be like this? Can't you just check your mouse and your team speed before you come on here? Damn it, guys. It's not like us. We always have everything under lock and key. That's my best confederal wing, Michael. I'm sorry. I had to plug it in there somewhere. You know me. But one thing I do know is that I love it when I see Shiro being willing to get aggressive with an AK, get a kill, and then get another one. Because that speaks to me that, okay, if I'm doing this with an AK, wait till I have an AWP. That's where I'm really going to be taking it to you. And you know what? We're going back to the game in just a second as well. So don't you worry about a thing, as we'll be back into it in a hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah, and the players have just rejoined the server as well, so I mean this seems like perfect timing, really. And so we do look at some of the monetary decisions that lie ahead. Of course, with the AWP saved over from Snacks, the PHR and Mouse as well, saving weapons over, they could feasibly reinvest into the round. That is always a possibility, but it'll be a difficult one if they decide to go that route. I expect that they'll play a bit more conservative considering they have a gun round to follow up. But I mean that's entirely a stylistic thing. I think a lot of the sort of up and coming tier 2 teams and even sort of regional teams are starting to make more of those moves to be more conservative. I think it works in the long run better when you think you are the better team. It just depends whether Illuminar think that they're the better team or not.
Well, after the previous map, I'd be surprised if they do, to be perfectly honest. But we're going to be back into the game as a resume has been called. We've said, let's go back to it. Let's go for a throwback. El Clasico, the good old-fashioned HUD that you see, that I see, that we all see. And we are live with it. So Illuminar, they'll be coming in here with a bit of a, well, few scramble to get the rifles from the previous round. But
yeah, they didn't really invest. That's good. Yeah, so they go that conservative route. They try and just hold on to what little they brought into the round. but that's still Snacks on AWP. He has really been a catalyzing force at times. But again, it's a slightly different setup here for Illuminar. They're exploring towards short. They're trying to take space in that regard, but Gambit have made their way through middle. They're looking to collapse on B very quickly. Snacks already chiming in with the AWP, but it's actually Reese holding from behind that catches them out. Hobbit does bail them out of a sticky situation, though. A man advantage that was no longer held here for Illuminar, but they find it right back. And that B push is shut down very quickly. Gambit instead go over towards A.
And then this did pay off well once on Mirage, but it all comes down to whether Axel and Shiro can hit those shots. Shiro is the one with the bomb, so he can't guard the planter with his AWP. Slightly ineffective, but it will not be punished. Now, Illumina, they've split up and they're coming in from one side. The problem is, Gambit have gone for the exact opposite approach. They're flashing Axel forward to take control over short. They hear the bullets. Axel pushing in will find it. Now Shiro, all he has to do is defend from long, and PHR as he moves forward will look for the first, but aim punch is too much. And Axel finishes it off. And this is where I have to say, Michael, where you say it's all about, hey, are we the better team? Are we not the better team? I don't think Illuminar is a better team. You have to go for risks in this situation. And as close as this got, I'm always going to be thinking in the back of my head, what if they had a deagle? What if they had a few more pieces of Kevlar? What if they had a bit more utility? Maybe that could have been a round where Gambit's money is stomped down on, their momentum is brought to a stop, and right now Hobbit is as well. Mauzo, as he gets one, is being given a chance to retreat and get a bit more firepower in, but Riyadh takes down Inters, who was waiting in the smoke, and already down to a 2v5.
Yeah, fantastic long control here from Illuminar. They find 3 kills without really sustaining any damage or pressure their direction. They are skimped out on utility. They are missing out on hits, but if they don't get to the bomb site, that's no problem. Nafany, good entry towards the site, but there's still a couple more players they'll have to deal with. Nafany doubling up. Okay, this could be a very sticky situation here for Illuminar. They're trickling in, finding these one-on-one duels, and Gambit, they'll get the plant. A 2-on-3 that is certainly feasible.
Very little utility as well on the CT side, and Nafany had a one-way, but it works against him. Shiro now left, and he's got the 2, looking for 3, makes it so close, but PHR will be able to find the kill through that crate, and that is inexcusable from the CT side. Not only do you let them get a bomb plant after you're up 5 versus 2, you bring it down to a 1v1, and I said it before, Michael, I have to say it again. Nafany in clutch rounds, Nafany in difficult situations, this guy's got the calmest, coolest head on his body ever. This is so impressive for a younger player.
Yeah, that is really scary for Illuminar. They start out so well, the Nafany answers the double, Shiro almost comes in clutch, but it's actually a pre-fire from PHR. The reason they win it. Oh, Snacks, the duel down middle, Shiro bobbing and weaving. A little bit of whack-a-mole action that Snacks is not prepared for. He didn't have the mallet. So Illuminar.
Is he gonna get it? Nafany's big ball. They're teasing
right
us.
around the corner,
They're teasing us. The Tech 9 shows itself. Nafany picks it. Inters will find the kill. Shiro to make it 2, and now it's a 4v2. And Gambit have been slightly better at cleaning up their plate than Illuminar has. They don't let the fungus grow into a unstoppable monster, but Veggie, he's waiting for them to come through. 1:10 on the clock. Veggie waiting, doesn't want to reveal himself, and now as he pops out, he's only good for 1. PHR with 24 HP, a nade in his pocket, and a prayer in his head, can only really look to back off.
Yeah, may even been denied that. Inter's trying to shoot at the feet, down to 2 HP, and PHR may get a taste of defeat in that round. Shiro, headshot, and a 4th for Gambit. No real sign of things slowing down. Gambit got those 3 rounds in a row. Sure, it comes down close in the previous round, but much more collected decision-making for Gambit. Actually, just moving, I think, more in a pack. We've seen them split up and try and go for some of these lurk plays, but trading a bit more efficiently. It, of course, all started out with Shiro on the AWP. And Illuminar need to take a step back. It's just pistols for round number 8.
Well, Illuminar, they might need to take a step back right now, but they've been knocked down. That's the problem, Michael. Now's sure is good for 1, but that stack doesn't work out for anything. This isn't looking good.
Yeah.
Illuminar don't even have enough money to be able to fully buy up on most of these players. Sure, they'll have M4s and some utility, but look at where the Molotovs are. You know where they are? They're still at the shop because you don't have money to be able to buy them.
You can't afford my wares.
Why does a shopkeeper sound like a final boss from Skyrim, Michael?
I don't know. Why does he sell Molotovs and not magic potions? Who knows? But maybe Illuminar need a little bit of magic. The boost on short, this could be a difference maker that Gambit aren't really prepared for. They're not peeking, not showing as of yet. Maybe lining up a flash as well. Yeah, Snacks pushed off of the angle as a result of the utility. And so that play that Illuminar wanted to go for, dealt with just by the single bit.
But the Illuminar do still have 3 players playing from ramp. They're not heavily committed towards A long and protecting it. Instead, they're just going for a retake setup where they can get some sight lines established. Unfortunately, this might not work out too well in their favor. That's a new way to throw the one-way smoke. Interesting. Hobbit chucks that one out, but now it's all about the defense of the A-bomb side. Or is it? B is the destination, potentially, as they've gone straight to mid. The CTs are not anywhere to be able to rotate, and with the player coming down to the CT, they know it's all about this B pin. So PHR has to step up because Mauser stepped down from the plate. PHR sees but cannot believe that Axel has got that shot already. A 5v3, and that is a sign for a save.
Yeah, you can see the way that Illuminar are posturing up in the same way that we saw it on Mirage, where they had to go for these long-winded rotations. It's the fact that they rely so heavily on their anchor players to find some level of success. I think that's what really we came away with Mirage kind of saying. There were a lot of missed opportunities, some missed shots from Illuminar, and that unfortunately cannot be the case on these maps where site collapses are so rapid. Even holding onto these weapons is going to be a bit of a strenuous task because Gambit can actually throw bodies at the problem because they have money to spare. So Snacks holding onto this AWP, it's not looking likely.
Especially not with that flashbang coming in. He's forced to peek back, and there's another one. He misses a shot. That is criminal, and he's about to get a sentence, but he's been able to get out of jail. Well, okay, Snacks. That's one way to do it. Prison Break took 8 seasons. He took 1 round.
No, I don't think they're out of the woods yet. They've gone through one fence, and there's another fence a couple miles out. They don't have wire cutters.
Well, guess they're gonna hope that Gambit Esports doesn't have electricity.
Oh god, oh yeah. That would be a shock.
Hey.
We'll step away from that now.
Are we really going to?
They've gone for a bit of a stack. They had as well Snacks trying to look for an opening pick on the AWP, which will not be given. He's of course set up towards the B bomb site. So it's just pistols that really stand in Gambit's way as they set up instead for long. And well, I mean, Snacks doesn't really need to be moving about the map in a way that leads me to believe they really want to fight for this one instead of trying to preserve that. See if they have to turn some pistols. But Axel getting the first kill, Hobbit another one through the smoke. So now the priority should just be get down Mr. President, save Snacks from this situation.
Bomb has been planted.
Well, Gambit isn't really in the best of positions to go hunting yet. They aren't going to egregiously run out and try to take deals, but that's also because they realize hey, it's just an AWP at the end of the day. And one thing that is for certain is Snacks has not been able to put it to very good use in this map so far. We haven't seen any sort of aggressive short play. We haven't seen any sort of aggressive play towards B, potentially, where you're using the AWP and a rifle in conjuncture to be able to kind of get a bit more control. So when you're playing this incredibly, I'd say, static AWPing style down from mid, where the only contest you're taking is if Gambit's taking mid control, well, you're going to be in a bit of a hard spot to properly utilize the weapon.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the B push because that's what they wanted to do for this round, but we need to see it in a rifle round, I think, is the big thing, right? Just so you can more comfortably make those rotations. You're absolutely right.
I mean, how many times did we see that on Mirage where they go for a push on a deagle round instead of that?
I think the few times we actually saw it was from Mouse on the secondary AWP instead of Snacks, so...
Yeah. We'll have to wait to see, though, now.
Yeah, can they even get themselves into a position where they can feel comfortable getting a double AWP? Because The more we go into this, Gambit are running away with the game. 3-7, timeout called by Illuminar. And actually they do. They buy into that secondary AWP. It's on PHR though. Actually, I think PHR is more typically the secondary AWP, if
I think Mav's just
my
picked it up
memory's
from
not
Mirage.
mistaken. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But, with that being said, we'll have to wait to see how he wants to use it, because it looks like he will be at least on the B-bomb site. But Nafany seems too easy. He knows all. Nafany knows all. This is what happens when you give an in-game leader who's very individually skilled the ability to not be an in-game leader anymore. He just knows everything about himself and everything around him. He's the all-knowing, all-seeing eye. But will not find a kill just quite yet. Knowledge does not equal to power in this particular scenario, but Gambit Esports might be looking to exert some regardless. Illuminar's got some space over towards the long doors. Still can't really aggress beyond that. Don't feel comfortable trying to circle around the short area where they know Gambit have assaulted them time and time again. And with a minute left on the clock, that assault is coming yet again. A Molotov and nade will all go out, but no damage dealt, and a flashbang will force Snacks off the angle. They're moving up with the bomb. Snacks needs to land the shot, will get it. Nafany goes down.
Yeah, much better success this time around from Snacks. Again, it's these passive angles, but getting one on the cross was so quick. Man up, but Hobbit responds. Just holding around the edge of the smoke as they rotate through CT. Not expected so far for Illuminar, so now into equal numbers. Hobbit still in this troublesome position that they cannot flush him out of. It has to be Hobbit to take this peak, to maybe lose the fight, but Hobbit getting one, a second as well. He's found 3 frags in the round, but it now comes down to Axile. Old, reliable for the side so far, and the flank is deadly. Snacks taken out from behind. Veggie could get himself onto the bomb, but instead taking the fight. Axile's unexpecting, and Illuminar, they'll get a 4th.
Really good decision making coming out from Veggie over there. Axel wanted to get a higher vantage point from on top of the car, where if Veggie stands up next to the bomb, he'll be able to get a sightline on it slightly more easily. But Veggie instead takes a wide swing from Goose and makes the 1v1 work. Still, Hobbit makes it incredibly expensive for the Illuminar side, and with Veggie only being able to save 1 weapon in a round where they picked up double AWPs, this is going to be a little bit touchy. Now, they do still have the full buy coming in, don't get me wrong, but utility slightly dry, and Riats is the one who will be the thirsty. But we'll still have to wait to see. Illumina, I like what we saw from them a little bit, in the sense that at least they get some long control, at least they establish what Snacks has to do, and Snacks is willing to re-peek out a few times, so that's one small sign of life at the very least that could grow into slightly more.
Yeah, the problem, like you said, is the fact that they win that with the double AWP. Coming down to 1 player is not sustainable. I don't know that they're in the best position to really deal with what Gambit have to offer in this one play. It's in towards the B side. Hobbit taking down through middle, but the execute already underway.
Axel's in, he's got another, but in a 2v3, it's all about Gambit and Axel! He's been brought down. Snacks was covering his back. Shiro left alone, 1 versus 3. He was very close in the clutch before. This is an awkward place to plant the bomb, but it gives him a lot more sight lines. Now waits with the Molotov as well. Needs to pick off the tunnels player, and he knows it. Gets a slightly safer angle, but as he's working it, there's a man on top, and it's Veggie to take him down. Once again, the one to deliver the finishing blow. Illumina, much more convincing this time over. I didn't even know you could plant the bomb over there.
I thought it was just gonna magnetize to the lower ground, but yeah, that feels like a legacy plant as well. I thought they
exactly.
got rid of that one. Oh, shows what we know. Anyway,
exactly.
5th round for Illuminar. Really, doing a much better job, I think, of recognizing some of the more forward angles they need to take. They're playing it very individually in that regard. Like, there's nobody helping for the fight in through middle to take down Hobbit. But at the very least, they're winning those duels, and so the results are there. Veggie flashed up over a It's a very heavy long control take here from Gambit, and Reese wants to fight for this instead. And he goes down to low HP, but he's able to get away.
Yes, he is, but at the same time, so much utility used by the CT side and the Terror side both. So the rest of this round will come down to either good calls and good gambles, which is what seems to be taken from Illuminar. I'll hold my thought though. Snacks will see the player, lands his shot, but it's through a wall. Shiro will connect, but Snacks re-peeks out. That's what you want to see. They have him all top to try and flush him out, but it's on Shiro, so he's feeling very worried about actually deploying it and scoping out with the op. Interzone, meanwhile, keeps Snacks locked in to that corner, and Gambit is happy to rotate. It's a 3v3, and they know that the CTs are generally quick to pull the trigger on bringing players back, and they're going through T-spawn. There's no way to get information of it. There's no one on mid for the CT side. And Maus, now he's starting to feel wary.
Yeah, such a difficult position to be in if you're Illuminar. You've been getting pounded on some of these sites, and now that you rotate in, Gambit cut sound, cut sight lines. Shiro could have really been the gatekeeper. I don't think they've really realized that the B side is as open as they're pushing through lower dark, and Mal's actually going 1-for-1 in the exchange. That should signal the alarm here for Illuminar. They start to rotate instead towards B, but oh no, they're circumnavigating. They're going through short instead, and Snacks is primed with the AWP, but gonna get Molotovs out of position. So this is a plant here for Gambit.
At least it should be. Snacks, if he had a bit more HP, if he hadn't been tagged up earlier on, he could have gone through the flames, but now he has to go in. There it goes. Gambit. Oh, Snacks is going for the jump shot. He goes for the spot, but can't get away with that. Is punished. Inter strikes him down, and I have to say, Gambit might be outplaying themselves just a little bit in a few of these rounds at this point.
Yeah, Shiro was holding that mid-cross, and then they start to almost second-guess it.
Yeah, also, just coming back down to lower tunnels is such an interesting decision to make at that stage, to go back to the A site potentially. It ends up working out for them, but a 1-for-1 trade over there, I mean, Maus could have got 2 very easily when you're coming down a choke point like LT.
Yeah, it was really, really awkward. Just the fact as well that if Snacks had found a kill from that sort of elevated position towards CT spawn on the AWP, that could have been a difference maker as well, because time became such a crucial part of Gambit getting that bomb planted. So I think it was about 10-12 seconds. That bomb changing hands could have made all the difference, but instead Gambit managed to weasel their way out of another round. We've seen some really late round decision making from them. We saw it on Mirage as well. You try to make
it's a bit reminiscent of the old school major winning Gambit as well. Just a little bit. It was very classic Zeus style back in the day. Flashbang comes in for now though. Snacks has been once again relegated to the similar passive position, and now relegated down to the ground. Veggie waits with an MP9, but he can't wait long enough, as he will be taken down. 5 versus 3. Utility is not there. Just a smoke, just a kit, and Illuminar, they have to save. They don't have money in the next round. They have to save, and they're not being allowed it.
Yeah, trying to hunt these players down. There's a decent amount of money available on a couple players. Gambit can't really bleed out too heavily, but now that, seeing as how we're approaching that last round of the half, willing to throw a bit more of those investments away. Make it so that Illuminar have no saving grace, no surprises in the follow-up rounds, but I think PHR is fast-footed his way far enough that Gambit shouldn't be able to track him down, and so these rifles can be saved. Now the question I think becomes, where do you position these if you're Illuminar to try and be as disruptive as possible? It almost feels like it has to be catwalk or short, but that's where Gambit have really been focusing a lot of their sort of nade set protocols to make sure that doesn't happen to them.
I feel like we need to see something that Sprout actually does a lot, which is where the CT just push up mid from catwalk after boosting up. Dennis loves to do that, and you have to throw a disruption in Gambit's plans. Illuminar has made it very clear they're not willing to push anywhere close to aggressively into the B bomb site itself, or going up through long. The only times they've shown any tendencies to maybe even try and be aggressive is, like you said, on a short or catwalk where the protocols overwhelm them. The only way you can get past the protocols is if you get past the maze, and you have to go very quickly up short for that. We'll have to wait to see what they actually end up doing though. I am definitely concerned, however. A 5-10 scoreline is not a good way to start things.
Yeah, of course, this map does always lean towards T-side favor, so You have to bear that in mind, but yeah, so much emphasis put on CT sides. Illuminar, they're trying to crunch the upper tunnels. Hobbit finding a kill, but there's Reeds finally showing their hand from the lower tunnels. So Gambit getting shut down towards the B side may actually start to accelerate things as they recognize where these players are, but they're getting caught in transition. Shiro going 1-for-1 in the affair. The bomb may get caught in transit, but actually getting found out. Shiro brings it to the one-on-one. It's an AWP versus the scout here from Snacks. Shiro not fancying his chances, switches to the AK instead, and he's been tagged up. He could find his way to the B side. That's always a possibility, but then you lose track of where Snacks is, so concerned about the rotation. Now it becomes a bit of a mind game.
He's gone to A. He's used that smoke perfectly. He's even got a Molotov. Snacks, he can be completely blocked out once a bomb is planted. If the molly goes down towards short, Snacks can't do anything. And Shiro again gets the vertical bomb plant. This is massive. Snacks will have to contend with him at long range with an AK-47 as well, and Snacks doesn't know where to go from. He's gone in through mid over to CT spawn. Shiro's trying to get some sort of audio cue, and as Snacks makes his way over, he's going to realize where the bomb is planted and realize, what do I even do? There's flashbangs as well. Shiro's positioned himself perfectly. It's not in pit where the flashbangs aren't as effective, so when he throws those out, Snacks is caught out. This is so well played. Shiro's making this 1v1 a masterclass of clutching. Oh my god, that's 10-5 and we're off to a break so we can process what just happened.
I might be too taboo. Huh. I have tried to be a girl with good intentions, proud to speak my heart without any pretensions. My words will never ever leave you in doubt. I don't see what all the fuss is about. Oops, did I say something I shouldn't have? You see, I'm not that nice. Should I apologize? Oops, did I do something I shouldn't
And we're back. Gambit Esports with an impressive start to the half. Illuminar on the back foot will look to pedal it back. Can they actually get there? I'm joined by the ever-present Michael Yumi Cassidy.
Wow.
Michael, Illuminar's already taken up mid control.
Yeah, good start already, but getting picked off by Inters, Hobbit as well finding a frag, and they don't clear out Nafany. Not a good sign here for Illuminar. A 2-on-4 that they have to try and make work. All the utility is already down, and they don't have the site. There's a couple players still on B, and now with Mal's gone, with it. Oh, Reeds is still trying to make it a little interesting, but eventually Axel gets it under control. Pistol round 1 here for Gambit. That needed to be, I think, the start for Illuminar to get more rounds registered. I think Gambit may just run away with this one as well.
Well, I can't say I disagree with you.
Yeah, it do be like that sometimes, unfortunately. Yeah. At the moment, it's just Gambit just seem in much better form. They're hitting a lot more critical shots in the clutch, I think is the big thing as well.
It is slightly problematic, yeah, when you're up 5v2 on Illuminar and then you still let it go down to a 1v1 at times. It's one of those days that you're having where nothing seems to be going right. Now, Mouse, he'd like to change that with a Eagle shot or 2 or 3 or 4. But there are very few opportunities for him to exercise. Now, let's not forget Illuminar. Ooh, okay, I like that. Nafany taken down by Mouse early on, and that gives them a bit of an entry point into the B-bomb site. Hobbit, realizing this, will start to rotate, and you can see the A-site players are also actually squeezing slightly closer together. So rotation points are ready. It all comes down to how many kills Inters can find and how... Oh, beautiful kill from Hobbit. Down in mid, catches the player mid-air as well while he was jumping. But Inters finding a way, gets one, gets two, and he's done it! That's his job done with Hobbit assisting from the back line to ensure Reitz is good for 1. But Gambit are not going to give this round up. Not too easily, at least. Reitz still needs 2 more kills. No Kevlar either, so that M4 is all the more deadly. And he's playing the right angle. He's playing the green boxes. He waits for them to come in, but can he find anything?
Oh, just the hairline spotted out. Reet spams the 3 HP, and Axel finishes off the job. They have a kit, so no real problems. And that's a pretty expensive round for Gambit, considering that Illuminar just came in with a bit of a half buy.
True. That is a fairly successful round from the Polish side.
All things
they can
considered.
even, yeah. I mean, they can even buy up an AWP for snacks, which is the important point.
The big thing is, though, I mean, you look at rounds like that, things that could have gone further, especially when you're behind like this, unless this gun round starts to get a bit more momentum for Illuminar, then maybe the tone can change, but Gambit should feel like they're in control, even if they feel like they're on worse weaponry in the first gun round.
Well, Snacks finds the first kill at the very least. Shiro doesn't quite win that duel out with inferior weaponry. Okay, Nafany and Hobbit both come through with a couple of quick ones. And it's back down to a 3v3. So, although some advantage was found by Illuminar, they are unfortunately quick to forfeit. Now, Inters does not have a smoke this time over, so his job will be slightly more difficult. But the problem is, if you look at Gambit, they have a player who's circled in all the way from T spawn and has all that information. Inters, this angle is perfect. Waits for them, gets the first, looks to re-peek, but doesn't get the opportunity. And now comes out the eventual pincer. Hobbit through the smoke, through the wall, through the skull of Riyadh.
And being approached in from behind, Axel finishes off the job. Mao's realizing a little too late that that's where the steps were coming from. So a 13th for Gambit. Illuminar do get stopped in their tracks in the tunnels. And just the back and forth trades, even with them finding an opening pick on Snacks on the AWP, just wasn't enough of an advantage for them to actually capitalize on that fact. That's a knockdown back to pistols.
Molotov deep catwalk comes through. That's actually quite important as Snacks has been tagged up heavily by it while he's trying to go through. Then he's taken down by Hobbit. And Nafany takes advantage of that information to now aggress himself. This is what we wanted to see from Illuminar, but Shiro and company are delivering for us time and time again. Even so, though, the Tech-9s have proved to be lethal, and Nafany is as well, gets one, peeks out, makes it two. And again, Michael, you said it. You get to a clutch and Gambit, they just make it work.
Yeah, and you can see the reactions are just so wildly different here from Gambit. Every time that they're meeting a bit of presence, they understand that Illuminar are in a position where they can't feel too confident in their individual capacity, and so trading has to be a bit more of an emphasis. So they don't have players watching the flank, and Gambit are capitalizing on all that additional space. The lack of maybe confidence coming into some of these duels. Oh, talk about confidence. PHR, a fast-footed play out towards long, but the Molotovs, the nade combo out towards the long tunnel works wonders. Snacks trying to compensate, bring things back. They found a man advantage. Now a 3-on-2 with control over long. And Gambit, they're trying to make these rotations, but there's a lurker in their midst.
And Shiro realizes it. Veggie's taken down, and it immediately removes the advantage before, and this is the key point, before Illuminar is even able to get onto the bomb side or cross. They do have 2 smokes, but using them is going to be very expensive. Shiro and Inters both will, however, be blocked off, and that's one very important point. Shiro did not choose to go in from short. That's a great nade, however. And fantastic damage dealt. Molotov and a second nade as well. They're just throwing everything and the kitchen sink at them. Gambit Esports maybe even recovered an AK. So this retake is very much on.
Yeah, Shiro not very confident in having the AWP for the retake, wanting to be a bit faster paced with it. The flashes, they sail out, creating a bit more room as Inters, but trapped in at the boxes. They're not able to support one another. Finally, Stacks contributes, and Shiro, unable to get the trade, tagged to low HP, will instead go to save that AWP that he dropped in favor of going for the retake. And Gambit, they won't get themselves to 15. They stay a little bit further away as Illuminar get their first on this T side.
And that's despite some fantastic utility damage being used to take down 2 players from Illuminar. It all comes down to Snacks winning the duel against a player inside a smoke, and Shiro being forced to wait because of Veggie. Remember, Veggie gets taken down there, yes, but if Shiro has the freedom to rotate over towards that A bomb site earlier on, he can get boosted up, he can get, anything's possible at that point. Shiro's actually in position to use the AWP before the bomb's planted. And that's a very different situation. So Illuminar, good round coming out from them. They get the early advantage and capitalize for once. So always happy to see that. But there is a timeout being called, presumably from Gambit. I'm sure Ruben will let us know in our ear in just a second. But yeah,
it is from
Gambit. It is a CT
yes.
side time. Okay.
So just taking a second to see if they can slow Illuminar down. Again, the same response we saw on Mirage as well, when as soon as Illuminar got one round, answer back with a timeout. It's like, no. Hold the phone. Hit a little speed bump. We've got the AWP, of course, saved over on Shiro, so thinking about a good plan of attack for him. But it's a fast play towards long here for Illuminar. And Gambit, they weren't in position, so they weren't going to get caught off guard. And Hobbit has a very low HP as he almost falls.
Hobbit? What are you thinking, Hobbit? Oh dear. PHR is leading the charge forward. Smoke goes out in front of him, and as it does, it's Intus considering whether it's worthwhile pushing through it. Shiro's taken down. Oh, that's beautiful. PHR still going, but Intus will get the kill. The AWP is recoverable, and Nafany will indeed pick it up. The question is he willing to use it by peeking out aggressively? That's what he needs to do to find them. But Snacks, he's going to be found out himself. There's a CT player behind him, in front of him. He gets the first, looking for the second. Will be able to connect. And that should be it. Sure, Nafany and Inters have some rifles, but those are rifles to save, if I've ever seen them.
Yeah, worthwhile investments to hold on to. The stock will rise, I'm sure. But Snacks may look for a bit of an explore. See if he can take these weapons down. He did a really good job of securing that pathway, making sure the rotations couldn't go towards that B site, and he just secures that even further as that bomb gets planted. So no real surprises. I think they've now realized that the game plan is a bit different here from Gambit. Even with that lead, they're not just going to throw themselves at it, thinking that they can perform masterful heroics against the odds. I wouldn't put it past them.
Well, I'm still very curious to see how Illuminar continues this forward, because, look, at the end of the day, it's good that they're getting a few rounds, but they have to get double digits. That's when you start to sweat if you're Gambit. The second Illuminar hits 10, completely different ballgame there and then. Now, the one good thing for them is that their economy is slightly built up. So even if Gambit Youngsters, dear God, why do I keep doing this, Michael?
Yeah, I know,
Why?
it just becomes so long being under that Gambit Youngsters sort of name, it's so hard to get it out of the... If they changed organizations, it almost would have been easier.
Yeah. It's also because like we've been casting them specifically for like 6 months now under that particular name. So yeah. Even so, point being that Illuminar's in a great spot, even if Gambit gets one round. However, Gambit not like this. Hobbit gets an aggressive, gets a lot of damage and a kill, which means Shiro on the AWP can still come through. That's a shoulder peak, so he's not been spotted out completely. And Snacks, however, has used that time to his advantage and back off. Now, where is Inters is my question. It seems like he's on the B bomb side. So the AK-47 could still chime into fruition.
I have to say, in general, I think Illuminar has been doing a better job on the CT and T side, respectively, of taking long control. That seems to be a real problem area for Gambit. And so maybe that's something that's further exploited. This time we actually see them aggress through middle instead, but that was in favor of the CT side having a bit more presence towards that long position. There is a timing that they're hoping to take, but Axel does get found out. Again, it's these two rifles, the AWP and AK, that linger here for Gambit, and they're committed to either site, so no real safe passage for either of these Illuminar squads. And PHR, he was just investigating, see if he could find where Inters was positioned, but this actually rings the alarm bells here for Gambit.
Question is, does Veggie use that Molotov, or will Shiro be allowed to re-peek out again? He gets the burst as the bomb drop, re-peeks in, Shiro gets him one more, and now he's getting aggressive. He realizes Snacks is coming in from short. There's 12 seconds, there's no way. Oh my God, that's so greedy, not using the Molotov, leaving it for the post plant. So greedy. That's a worst possible way to lose a round for Illuminar.
Counter-terrorists win.
Yeah, and it puts them in a really dicey spot because that's 15 now for Gambit. In a round where it was only those two players remaining, a 2-on-4, Inters just finding that kill on B, it causes a bit of panic in the Illuminar camp. I think maybe they'd even expected that they would have doubled up just to save those weapons because of the odds. But they were so split up, so segmented, that wasn't even a possibility. So they fall right into it, kind of a trap. But like you said, it was greedy.
Well, right now that nade is Big Boy, and Riat is brought down. 3 players over towards the B bomb site, going in quickly. They're trying to fake out long control, but PHR will follow him into the grave. Nafany taking more and more, and sure, Snacks is good for one, but Inters peeks out late and will find another. Veggie left alone in a 1 versus 4, and something tells me this is over. Gambit Youngsters will win their inaugural series in the DreamHack Open November, and what a way to do it as well.
Yeah, Gambit Esports win the inaugural best of 3. It's a tricky situation. We fall into the trap so often. Just the addition of Hobbit is enough to mature them a significant portion, but a great series from them overall. We came in with a bit more of a confidence towards them. Illuminar have been kind of shaky of late, sort of up down, whereas Gambit are sort of riding that high. Talk about their best of 3 series streak that they're on. I think that makes 13 in a row, and I mean you can see why they seem to be getting good production out of players like Hobbit, Nafany. We talk about Axile. Shiro actually wasn't as big a factor as some of previous series we've seen him in, but that threat is always there in the backlines. That, I mean, if he were there, this could have been a much bigger blowout for Gambit. They just seem to be hitting all their shots on all their respective separate elements.
And look, I am critical of Shiro from time to time, especially on my Twitter, but I have to say, on Dust too, although he wasn't there the same way numerically, which you might want to hope, even numbers-wise, he wasn't doing terribly, but more than anything else, in the clutches, he was so good. And